Yesterday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis kicked off his much anticipated presidential campaign on Elon Musk's Twitter. As we've been talking about for the past few days, I thought it was a very interesting idea, very innovative, very creative, but it is a high risk, high reward sort of maneuver, much like walking the tightrope. Well, DeSantis took the risk. He definitely didn't get the reward, and he may have taken a tumble off the tightrope. Hang on, folks. We're going to get into all this in just 1 second. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. Governor Ron DeSantis kicked off his campaign yesterday on Twitter in a very high risk, high reward sort of maneuver. Very innovative idea. The idea of doing a campaign kickoff on a social media platform like Twitter. Could have gone to Rumble, could have gone to YouTube, but he chose Twitter instead. I'm not going to lie, I like the idea. However, it didn't turn out as well as he thought it would. As a matter of fact, it was frankly a complete disaster. And I'll explain why in just a moment. We're going to take a look at some articles who gave their own reviews. And also, I want to analyze some of the substance and how it was delivered. So let's go to our first headline. This is from Politico. It turns out to be a mistake. Botched rollout puts DeSantis' campaign on its heels. He portrays himself as a low-drama alternative to Donald Trump. His campaign launch was the picture of disorder. In an article written by Sally Goldenberg and Meredith McGraw, you only get one chance to make a first impression. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was a glitch. The Florida governor announced his presidential campaign on Twitter Spaces in an appearance meant to be a veritable launch hosted by an actual rocket man. But within seconds, it was clear that Tallahassee had a problem. The feed broke, connections got loose, the host seemed confused. It was inauspicious. It was also a black mark on the candidate's supposed trademarks, expert organization, and a comfort with the vanguard of modern media. Quote, it was bold, but it turned out to be a mistake, radio host Eric Erickson emailed supporters about the mishap. It is recoverable, but it is a reminder that some things should be under full control of the candidate, particularly the launch day. The risk for DeSantis is the prospect of the botched rollout forming a narrative and cutting against the very argument he's making to Republican primary voters that he is a competent alternative to the chaotic presidency of former President Donald Trump. The governor has been portraying himself in public speeches and private donor meetings as a controlled, low-drama politician who embraces many of Trump's policy positions without the trademark unpredictability. But on Wednesday, DeSantis, who fiercely values control, was the picture of disorder. Now, I'll tell you what. For my part, I think Politico hits the nail exactly on the head. I was doing a live stream last night, which was co-hosted by Ruben Christopher Haynes, a fellow social media content creator and a very talented man in his own right. He has a YouTube channel. He has a Twitter account. Please go check him out. He's a very good man and definitely deserving of your support in all things. So please take a look at his work. But we were co-hosting this together. We had some problems on our end, which I take full responsibility for as the host of a live stream. But a lot of our problems had to do with problems on Twitter's end. The event was supposed to start at 6 p.m. Eastern. It was delayed more or less by about 20 to 30 minutes because the server kept crashing. The audio was very compressed. You couldn't hear anything. When we finally were able to get at about the 30 or 40 minute mark after we started streaming, then we were able to hear everything. But instead of everybody commenting upon DeSantis's, campaign kickoff, which is supposed to be a very rallying opportunity to introduce the candidate to the public, that's what traditionally this is supposed to do. All everybody is talking about is how bad and how glitchy and the problems and everything else. And I think this article is absolutely right. This undercuts the argument that DeSantis is making. Hey, I'm Donald Trump without being Donald Trump. I'm the guy that can give you the policy without giving you all the bad personality. Well, this just absolutely took the rug out from under that. Perhaps temporarily, but it definitely cuts into it. But Politico wasn't the only one that noticed problems with this whole thing. Take a look at this. This headline comes from CNN. DeSantis under immediate pressure to bounce back after embarrassing campaign launch. Article by Stephen Collinson. We'll read a couple of lines into it. The Ron DeSantis campaign launch fizzled like one of Elon Musk's early rocket prototypes. The Florida governor's been preparing for months to run for president, but his official campaign launch committed a cardinal political sin, offering his opponents, especially ex-President Donald Trump, an opening to turn him into an object of ridicule. Hang on to that one line. We're going to get back to that in just a minute. First, DeSantis made the unorthodox choice to make his long-awaited run official, not among regular voters, but on Twitter Spaces audio stream alongside Musk, the billionaire owner of the social media platform, which meant the biggest moment in his political career played out through disembodied voice. Yeah, he's getting a lot of criticism here, and deservedly so, might I add. Here's a few other headlines. ABC News. Twitter glitches delay Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign announcement with Elon Musk. This is from the Washington Post. Ron DeSantis' 2024 kickoff on Twitter is plagued by technical issues. And finally, the Ron DeSantis Twitter campaign launch was a complete disaster. Hey, wait a minute. They stole my headline. What the? Look at this. How dare they? Who does the New Republic think they are? Completely ridiculous. But yeah, this is just some of what Ron DeSantis got as a result of how badly things went. Now, let's talk about this for just a second. Everybody has known for months that DeSantis was going to get into this race. People have offered opinions on both sides of it. Some thought it was a good idea. Some thought it was bad. I'm in the latter category, but he's a big boy. He can make his choice. You would think for all the time that the campaign had to prepare, and you would think that for all the opportunity they had to make sure this thing go right and make sure it went right, that all these things never would have happened. Instead, I'm sorry, this was amateur hour. This was terrible. It made DeSantis look incompetent. It made him look weak. Now, as Eric Erickson points out, and I agree with him, DeSantis can recover from this. But this is not a good way to start a campaign, especially when you're trying to introduce yourself to voters that you desperately need to get their attention. You need to not only consolidate the I'm not Donald Trump vote, you also need to start peeling voters away from Donald Trump. And I'm sorry, these mishaps, these missteps are not helping him at all. Now, as to the substance, for those of you who were able to hear the Twitter Spaces announcement, DeSantis made the standard I'm running for president to lead the great American comeback, which is going to be his theme. And, there were questions and answers, but the questions and the answers betrayed something about this event. I, like a lot of people, I think, was expecting this to be a very upbeat, spontaneous sort of event where there was give and take. Well, there were questions asked, but it seems like every person who asked a question was a friendly combatant, so to speak. In other words, they're on DeSantis' side. Now, you would expect that at a campaign rally, be it on Twitter Spaces or be it in a standard political rally that you'd see traditionally done. But even beyond that, this seemed way over the top. Every person's question was something that was a strength of Ron DeSantis. No questions, no criticisms, no nothing. And it just came off as being very flat, very planned, very generic, very plastic. But worse than the questions were the answers he gave. There are some people who have speculated that DeSantis was reading off a script when he was giving the answers to these questions. Now, I'm not going to go quite that far, but I will say this. These answers were delivered in a very flat, plastic, generic sort of way. There was no excitement to them. There was no, we need to do it for these reasons, and in doing so, we'll make the country a better place to be. There was no passion behind it. It was almost like he was just like reading off a cereal box. No emotion, no nothing. I mean, granted, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The era of Donald Trump as a politician has almost spoiled people who enjoy watching politics, because the thing about Trump, you never quite know what you're going to get when he opens his mouth. But you guarantee one thing, it will be entertaining. But you can't say that about DeSantis. And I'm not saying politicians per se have to be like stand-up comedians, that they have to constantly entertain every moment that they give a speech somewhere. But if you're going to give a campaign rally where you start off a presidential campaign, it seems to me that you have the responsibility to rally people to you, give them a reason to be upbeat, give them a reason to be joyous about the fact that you are running for the highest office in the land. DeSantis didn't do that. It just felt very, here I am. Hey, I'm on this unique platform. Hey, let's talk about a few things. Just nothing about it seemed genuine. I mean, I'm not saying that DeSantis is a disingenuous person. Please do not misunderstand me. I think he very much believes in the policies that he advocates for. But it would seem to me you'd want just a little bit more passion in a campaign presidential announcement, especially when you're being asked questions about policy. You know, it just seemed flat to me. Now, I've given you the reaction of members of the press. I want to play one clip that will give you an idea of how he may have left himself wide open for criticism. Remember what the article said about, how badly this thing went and the fact that he's now left himself open to his opponents? Well, take a listen to this. This is a campaign video that came out today from Donald Trump.
Rob DeSanctimonious and his poll numbers are dropping like a rock. I would almost be inclined to say these are record falls. The question, is Rob just young, inexperienced, and naive, or, more troubling, is he a fool who has no idea what the hell he's doing? We already have one of those in office. We don't need another one. We need MAGA, Make America Great Again.
Now, I'm going to stop it right there. It goes on for a few more seconds, but you see what's happened. And now, I'm not saying that this is going to be a theme that Trump follows through with, because, sometimes his attacks tend to be very scattershot. But that disastrous launch on Twitter has opened the door for Trump to make the argument about Ron DeSantis. Does he really know what he's doing? Is he really competent? We've got one of those in the White House already. We don't need another one. Ron DeSantis, and I'll wrap it up with this. Ron DeSantis cannot make too many mistakes in this run for the Republican nomination. If all things were equal and all the candidates were equal, then okay, you could make some mistakes at the start and, bounce back, still go on to win the nomination. DeSantis does not have that kind of margin for error. He and his campaign staff have got to be on their A game all the way from here to every caucus and every primary in the process of trying to find a nominee for president, because you are going up against Donald Trump, who not only has the advantage of being Donald Trump, is also a former president of the United States, beloved by the base of the Republican Party. You cannot make these kind of mistakes like the DeSantis campaign had on Twitter last night. Otherwise, your ride is going to be really short. But that's what I think about it. What do you think? As we wrap this up, please do me some favors as always. Number one, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do so. Number two, spread the video around and let people know that we're here. Number three, please leave a comment. Number four, hit the thumbs up button. And also hit the bell for notifications. I want to make sure you're always aware when we've got new content coming out. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative. We'll see you next time.